say, you'll never understand the grace of God until you're married. And I say, well, Jesus and Paul seem to do okay. Or same thing with parenting. People will say, now what I don't want to minimize is how incredibly numerous and powerful those means are, and God ordained in working and displaying and sanctifying. But I've learned a lot through compound dislocated ankles. I'm not going to say until you've had a compound dislocation of your ankle, you'll never really understand God's grace. And so I don't want to impose ways God's worked in my life through suffering and all kinds of things on anyone, but at the same time appreciate the way God works through all kinds of means in our lives.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the early years of our marriage when we were wanting to have a baby, I remember so many times hearing husbands say, you'll love and respect your wife so much more once you see her give birth, you know? And I remember thinking, okay, it can't be that God has made it so that you have to have a baby before your husband really loves and respects you in this deep way. So my answer to that question is just that if we believe that God is sovereign over all of these relationships in our life, then we have to believe that He is going to give opportunities in all those different kinds of relationships to bring the things to the surface that we need for our sanctification. People use marriage as an example all the time because it's so daily and so decade after decade, and so of course there's more opportunity. But in a good roommate situation where you're committed to each other's growth, that can happen.
And that's not to minimize, again, how amazing and miraculous and incredible it can be to watch a woman give birth and have a toughness that exceeds the biggest, toughest football player in the world. And my mother's had hip surgery, and she's not getting out of bed. And I called her, and she said, the pain's too much. And I said, Ma, you gave birth twice. This should be nothing. And so she said, I gave birth and did my hair and a half an hour later. I washed my hair, she said, because I didn't have time before I went. And so, but it's not to minimize the ways God does do that, but it's never limited to one expression of the ability to develop sanctification or appreciation for people.